Injustice Season 3. Or sorry, Young Justice Season 3.
Injustice is also good.
Injustice is also good.
Okay. So...
I'm so excited.
Alright.
For a cartoon.
Welcome to the next episode of Stay Indoors, the GeekGarden discussion podcast. I am Kelly, and joining me today are Sean.
Hi.
Brandon.
Hello.
And back from the grave, Jack.
Yo.
Back in the grave. Sure.
Well, I mean, let's create some fiction here. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Speaking of creating fiction.
So today, guys, I kind of wanted to hit you with something a little weird. We might not be discussing it.
Hit me.
We might not be discussing it all like for the whole time, all day. 20 hours of talking about our topic.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
By hour 16, it's just a mess of garbled, just like Spider-Man.
Wow, spoilers.
Sorry.
Yeah, jeez, man, my reveal was coming up.
Well, it's just because I saw Spider-Man.
There is a big Spider-Man there. But this week, Sony announced that they have cast Tom Hardy to play Venom, and they are going forward with a Venom movie. And there's a lot of weird stuff going on that I want your guys' opinions of. So to sort of set the stage on this a little bit, Marvel and Sony teamed up to bring Spider-Man into the MCU.
Yeah.
After the Amazing Spider-Man movies kind of didn't do as well as they would have liked.
Maybe it's because the last one was not good.
Okay, we're not getting into that. And so they were like, you know what? Marvel knows what's going on. We're going to work with them. We're going to make a movie. So they teamed up and they brought Spider-Man into the MCU with Civil War. And it was pretty popular. Most people really liked his appearance in the film. He was jokey. He was having a good time. Now they're still working together to have Spider-Man Homecoming, which we have seen will feature Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. in some capacity.
Yeah.
I know you haven't watched any trailers, but that's like just a pretty known fact.
Yeah. I heard his voice.
Yeah. So he's going to be there. It takes place in the same world as Tom Holland. They're doing that whole thing. But one of the producers, like an executive at Sony, was talking recently about how unprecedented it is for studios to come together and work on a project like that. And in doing so, they mentioned that, it's not something that happens. It might not ever happen again after the sequel, which has led a lot of people to wonder what's going to happen after the sequel to Homecoming, which is already a movie that we know is happening. Whether it's called Homecoming 2 or something else. They've said that they're making a second one.
Okay.
Wow.
But then they said, like, it might never happen again after a sequel. So that we don't know what the relationship with Marvel and Sony is going to be with Spider-Man. But then following that, they're making this Venom movie, which is said to be in their Spider-Man universe, but not necessarily, it's not connected to the MCU.
Yeah.
So there's weird options of, is it going to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man? Are we not getting a Spider-Man? Are we getting a new Spider-Man? How do you do Venom without doing Spider-Man?
Are they doing Andrew Garfield?
I don't
think they're bringing him back to be Spider-Man.
That could also be an option.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah. But that's like a possibility.
Like if it's Sony's universe.
Yeah, if they used putting Spider-Man in the MCU to make him popular again.
It's so weird to reboot a series that's already been replaced by another Spider-Man.
Not even reboot.
Not even reboot, but
revive.
Just take a defibrillator to it. Just be like, it's not dead yet.
We can do this.
Andrew Garfield's like, no more Spider-Man.
So I'm wondering what you got.
What? You don't like my Andrew Garfield impression? Although to his credit, I'm sure he would jump on that, because who wouldn't?
I don't know, actually. I've watched some interviews with him, and I obviously don't want to speak for Andrew Garfield because I don't know. But I was talking.
Sean will. Sean will speak for Andrew Garfield.
I'll speak for anybody. Bruce Willis is cool. I bet.
It seemed that because he started doing some more sort of, I guess you could say, artsy and artistically fulfilling projects, right? Like he worked with Scorsese on Silence. And
I forgot about that.
He's been doing stuff, which is a really good movie. He's been doing more stuff like that, and he was in.
That's one about the.
I was just talking about it.
Pacifist, right?
Yeah.
As a war vet in WW1.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. You've seen it?
Yeah.
WW1.
Why do you take me to these movies? Anyway, we digress.
But he's been doing those kinds of things, and in interviews he's been talking about how the studio pressure and like doing like the press tours and stuff isn't really the kind of thing he wants to be doing, and he loved being Spider-Man. But he's kind of I feel like he's kind of moved on. I don't know if he would want to come back or if they would do that.
Speculation and all of
it's
our
all
parts,
speculation, right? But I'm curious what you guys think would be
what Sony would do.
Well, yeah, what do you think Sony's plan is? What do you think would be what their plan is and what the best idea is?
I have a weird feeling that they might build up to a new Spider-Man film. Because we know that they're doing like multiple vigilante films, right?
Well, that's another part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Is as part of this like weird Spider-Man universe spin-off project.
They're doing like an MCU
also
thing with
announced,
just Spider-Man characters.
Yeah, which okay, Spider-Man has a lot of characters, a lot of villains, so I kind of get it. But they've also announced a Black Cat Silver Sable movie.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Which is weird to me.
Yeah. So I have like this weird like, you know how like we haven't gotten a Batman movie yet for DC, but like we did get Batman vs Superman, which was kind of a Batman film, but like he's like hinted at in Suicide Squad and just kind of shows up. Like I have a weird feeling that might be what we get, though I don't think that's the smartest idea.
Okay.
Like where like we might not see him in the Venom movie, we might like see a shadow of him or like something happens or whatever, right? And then he might be in the Black Cat movie. I have no idea.
But
I honestly have no idea.
Here's my question. Curious. Sean, you would have an answer for this.
Curious.
You know a bit about Venom, like you're not like super.
I'm not ignorant to Venom.
How do you do a Venom movie without Spider-Man?
Well, you typically shouldn't or can't because it's part of Venom's thing, right? Like
Spider-Man.
His character is in an infatuation with Spider-Man and in direct relation to that.
Yeah. Like
Venom is the antithesis of Spider-Man. He is the rejection of being the symbiote and Eddie Brock's rejection and the combined rejection and rage of that character.
No Batman, no Joker, no Spider-Man, no Venom.
Right? Like, how could you do a Joker movie without Batman somewhere? Like, they are in... you could. Honestly, you could go out there and probably write a really cool script. But I think Joker and Batman play together so well that why would you want to?
That's a good point, is maybe they can do it, but sort of what's the point?
Like, you then end up with a different character. You end up with a different sort of foil and a different sort of, like, scope of what that is.
Yeah. They certainly couldn't do... I don't think they could do a Venom movie. I don't think it would be smart for them to do a Venom movie where Spider-Man doesn't exist yet.
That's my other thing.
Right. Like, Spider-Man has to be around. Yeah, because, like, I feel like if you did a Joker movie, like, if it's just Joker and no, Batman's not in it, Batman has to be in that universe, though.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of why Joker is a thing. And no, there's no, like, specific scenario as to why Joker would be around. Because Batman, it's just kind of, like, a thing that you know that Joker is a creation of the chaos that Batman creates.
And, like, in Venom's case, he gets the symbiote from Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And then he has web slinging and wall crawling, specifically because Spider-Man had them first. And the symbiote, like, learned them from Peter.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like a whole other level.
I was going to bring that up, too. It's like... That's the correlation between Spider-Man and Venom, because if you don't have that, if Venom's just like crawling around, then that's just a thing symbiotes do.
The character that we know as the Eddie Brock Venom, is the symbiote after Peter Parker. Like it's just like I can't.
Are they gonna do an Eddie Brock Venom? Like Venom's been with so many characters.
I think they've said that it is Eddie Brock.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the casting for which we'll get into
was like Eddie Brock slash.
It said that he was cast as Eddie Brock.
Yeah.
Because, like, if they did, what is it, Flash
Thompson?
If they did Flash Thompson Venom.
But again, I would actually love if the universe went there at some point, because I think it's a cool story. Yeah. But again, I feel like we're getting that DC element, where, like, they could have done cool things in the future, but if they don't plant those roots first.
Yeah.
Because if you have a Spider-Man movie, and you establish Flash Thompson as a character, and then, like, 10 years later, we've still got this universe going, and he's grown up.
Yeah.
And now he's, like, not the bully anymore, and he's been through all this stuff in his life, and then he becomes a soldier, and then he gets a symbiote, and that whole story happens.
Yeah.
That's really cool, but if you just, like, oh, it's Flash Thompson, and he's a symbiote, you don't get the character. There's not really, like you were saying, there's not really a point.
Yeah, it's like, just, like, there's not a through line for us.
Yeah.
As an audience, we don't get that through line to where you get the satisfying payoff of experiencing that sort of thing.
I think a good example of what the MCU has done is, like, if we ever get to see Bucky take over as Cap,
Yeah, that would be super dope.
Right, it would be kind of the same thing. He was Bucky in the first movie, and then he was Winter Soldier, and he was an enemy and an ally, and like this whole story's going on.
Yeah.
So if he ever picks up the shield, that'll be a big deal.
That'll be a moment, yeah. Or if Falcon does, because at one point he was.
Yep, Falcon as well.
That's true.
Or we actually sort of got it when we finally got to see Rhodey be War Machine.
Yes, that's a fucking perfect example. I
Right?
fucking loved that. When War Machine came out, I lost my shit. I was
Yeah.
so happy. Say what you will about Iron Man 2. All you haters, I hate you. I love it.
All you haters, I hate you.
But seriously, it was a lot of fun for
yeah,
me
'cause-
as a viewer, and
Yeah,
as
and
a
you
fan.
get that payoff too because he was around, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rhodey was around. Like
Different
they
actor,
recast
but
him,
whatever. That's
but-
not the important thing. It's like for the story.
But also we had that hint as when it was
It was still Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard, and he looks at the silver suit and he goes, "Not today," and he walks
Yeah.
out. We're like, "Oh, that's a War Machine hint." And then in the second movie, it's like, "Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's
And you get-
that's
yeah.
the today."
Yeah.
It's fucking
Which
great.
is so cool.
I was gonna say one more thing about connecting, and a great connection in the MCU that they've set up is the Celestial. Spoilers for Guardians 2 if you haven't seen it, but it has to do with Peter Quill's whole background and like who his dad
Oh,
is.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that whole mystery, and then it gets solved, brought up, and then we find out the roots, and it's like there's a payoff there.
Mhm.
They
Yeah, it
went
was
somewhere with that,
Planted in the first film, but wasn't
Yeah.
the main plot, and then gets picked up as the main plot in the second movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is awesome.
My worry for Sony and like has been my worry for DC for a while is that like I'm surprised that Sony might have picked up on it earlier, but they kind of couldn't do anything because they made a contract with Marvel. But I'm surprised that both DC and like Sony haven't been like, hey, wow, the thing that Marvel's doing is like really working. Like, why aren't we replicating that or like doing a very similar thing to profit from it? And like DC, I feel like just didn't get it. And I'm worried that now that Sony has like they'll get Spider-Man back per se, like it's almost, I feel like it's gonna be too late. Like I feel like the trend is gonna be like
See, that's
we're gonna be like
that's an interesting point because
Yeah.
I have a counter to that
yeah
where I think that their problem is that they tried to replicate it too quickly and didn't take the time.
Yeah.
And I think that if, for example, if DC had said, hey, we made Man of Steel, we're going to make Batman, we're going to make Man of Steel 2, then we're going to do Batman vs. Superman, then we're going to do Wonder Woman, then we're going to do Justice League.
yeah
They had the potential there because, like, people come to the Marvel movies, like, people like us
yeah
go because we're like, oh, fucking Captain America, yeah.
yeah
Other people go because, like, yo, RDJ, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, they're stars now who like
Yeah.
attract people too. They're like, I want to go see the new RDJ Iron Man movie,
yeah
Yeah.
right? And it's also they're now invested because like they see Iron Man and they get that, they know who that is.
Right.
But those actors aren't going to be able to do these roles forever, and
Sure.
the MCU is going to be different after Infinity Gauntlet.
yeah
Yeah. It's
If
gonna be a
DC had done a slow burn and like built up a Batman that you cared about and a Superman that you cared about and a Wonder Woman that you cared about, and then Marvel's like, hey, we kind of are done now, and then DC was like, but now we have the Justice League
yeah
because
I'd
they're
be
trying
into
to
it.
compete and they can't because they don't have the footing.
Because how long has Marvel been trying to do this? The MCU's been started when Iron Man 1 came out in what, 2009?
2008.
2008.
Yeah, the MCU started in 2008, and we're now starting to get really huge, big payoffs.
we're just about to get
You know what I
10
mean?
years
Like
into
only
it, yeah.
3 years ago did we get an Avengers movie? 2 years ago?
No, Avengers
No.
was
Avengers?
5 years ago now.
5
It
years
was 2012.
Jesus.
yeah
I am so old. Anyway,
But even that was like 4 years in.
But that was 4 years in, yeah,
I guess
like-
my thought was more
And we had
like
a lot of solo films first.
Like I agree. Like I feel like if they wait as well, like that will work. I feel like they're in an awkward spot where I just feel like the general feedback that I've heard from people who like love the MCU but aren't like invested in superheroes and comics as much as we are.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like, this is a lot. Like I want like you say a lot of the time, like the film industry is just super saturated with
it's
these type of
saturated
films
right now.
So I feel like that like there was a sweet spot where you could have started it and like DC tried to, but they're just like fucking up all their films. Where like you could have like a competition with Marvel and people would still enjoy it because you're still in this kind of like trend. But I feel like Sony's gonna be on the tail end of that and is gonna miss it, and I feel like it's gonna be too early or too late, whichever you want to look at it, to like
Okay,
do
yeah, I see what you're
another
saying.
right to do another like because Marvel's gonna end in like. I assume in the next like 5 to 10 years,
We'll
but
see.
then we'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, now there's this whole Spider-Man
Side
universe that's happening too.
Yeah.
And like even if they especially if they decide to not do it with Tom Holland, like you're just gonna be like, I don't know if I want to go see these.
Yeah, and it sucks because, like, as a big Spider-Man fan, I can tell you that, like, I honestly believe that there is enough Spider-Man already out there to sustain a film universe on its own, like about him or his characters, like other characters. Like once they built him up, you could do a Prowler movie. You could do totally do a Venom movie. Venom can lead a film. Yeah, like there's a lot of characters out there. You could do like a Harry Osborn film if you do like Green Goblin fights Peter or whatever, and then you do a movie about Harry becoming Goblin, and like there's all kinds of things that I think you could justifiably do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's an interesting thing about like where is the timing on that? Did the bubble already burst? Is it going to burst before they're ready? Should they have started sooner? Should they just do team up movies now and hope they get it before everybody's fatigued?
That's what my thought was. Like if DC again wasn't fucking up the movies, I feel like they're in a good spot because like you said, like right as the MCU kind of dies out, they're getting to the tail end of their films, and so it's kind of they kind of build on that momentum. Yeah. But like no one likes their movies, so that's not gonna happen.
Well, I mean, I do have high hopes for the Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah,
I guess so, but
I'm optimistic. I've actually heard good things.
Yeah, no, I'm optimistic about Wonder Woman, but I'm just saying like as the universe as a whole and just like the whole DC series, like
I don't hate it in theory. I just think they've got off to the wrong foot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially Batman vs Superman was sorry.
Well, no, it's especially with like the way they did the whole introduction to Justice League. Like at the end of the Batman vs Superman
it's
thing.
just kind of like
it was just like, hey guys, so here are the characters.
It's so forced.
It's like we know you like Avengers. Here's our version.
They're trying too hard to catch up. Where it's like they should just play their own game and like I don't know, because like there are so many people out there who are like, I'm a diehard DC fan and like Marvel's okay, but like I like Batman and Superman, so they could have succeeded like taking their time.
Well, the thing is, Marvel had to work harder because Marvel was like, hey, we're taking Iron Man and Captain America and Thor and making them household names. Yeah. DC is just like, we're going to do another Batman and Superman. And we know people are going to see it because it's Batman and Superman.
Yep. We've been seeing Batman and Superman since the fucking 60s.
Yeah, in movies since like the 80s. Yeah. I mean, Superman's the OG, right? Like he's the guy. Yeah. And Batman was hot on his heels. Yeah. So, but they're also very popular. But it's an interesting thing between Marvel and DC, just as like a weird side note, is like Marvel's teams, like the Avengers in the comics, were like obviously a big deal, but they were composed of those like what would be considered B and C list characters who didn't necessarily have the most successful solo runs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Whereas DC's big team is composed of its heavy hitters. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like 100%. The Justice League is Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman and like everybody's a member of the Justice League. Yeah. So I kind of see why if they want to build a universe, you've got to do Superman and Batman again. Yeah. But it's just that focus of like, we're going to get Superman and Batman like out of the way so you've seen them and then we can just do Justice League. Yeah. But like even the Justice League trailer, I think it was the most recent one, where Batman and Wonder Woman are basically like introducing the audience to everybody else. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh yeah, he's got robotic parts. He's a human cyborg. Yeah. Arthur Curry, the Aquaman. And like they're just saying their names. And like Marvel doesn't have to do that because you've seen Thor, you've seen Captain America. The Shield shows up, you see the hammer, you know what's happening. Yeah. But they've got to like want us to get used to the name Cyborg, get used to the name Aquaman because we never had those before.
Yeah. I don't want to get like too into the DC thing, but I have to admit that like what they were going for with like Superman being like the first like super person to show up in their universe, and then like Batman's kind of older and retired, and he's been around as a vigilante, but he was just a human doing vigilante things, and then like Superman shows up and he's like, yo, like what? And it goes to right level. But then if they almost like somehow cut it there and then like Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and Flash, right? And you start into like, I feel like that would have been so cool, but they they pushed it too.
Yeah, no, I think there were cool ideas there, but in their rush to build a universe.
Yeah, I would love to see an Atlantis movie. Right? I think that would just be so cool. That'd be so cool. Whatever you will about like the awkward underwater shooting, like it might be hard to make a movie, an Aquaman movie, I understand, but it would be so interesting because Atlantis is such a fun thing that we as a movie audience have not seen done in that way. Like think about the technological advancements you would have to make that movie, and then the cool writing that you could play with. It would be your Thor. You know what I mean?
Like you could totally well, I mean like. This is a good segue to our topic later, but like the way they do Atlantis in Injustice, where it's like when you're inside the buildings, in
it's
Atlantis.
Yeah, you're in a dome,
you're in a
right?
building,
You're
in a
not-
dome, you
it's
walk
just
around, so
fine.
there's no swimming, so like
Yeah.
filming those scenes wouldn't be as difficult.
As difficult. Yeah,
I almost think of also like the Gungan City in Star Wars
Well,
Episode
also,
1, right?
like,
You go through a bubble. And you're in
I'm
a building.
pretty
It's also
sure
true,
like filming underwater isn't like a foreign thing,
No,
right?
no,
Like
100% not.
especially the big budget movies. Like I'm pretty sure that's how they filmed the space scenes in Guardians.
Mm.
When they're floating in space,
Oh,
I'm pretty sure
yes.
they're underwater
Oh,
because
really?
their hair's
that,
all
that totally makes sense. Yeah.
flowy and
Oh, I
stuff.
can see that now.
And like, yeah, that's cool, but like,
my stepdad used to say that they should get Guillermo del Toro to direct an Aquaman movie.
oh, that's the thing that I want now.
Do we know who's directing the Aquaman movie?
I don't think Aquaman has a movie.
I don't
Yeah,
think-
yeah, they announced it like
Oh, did they?
a month ago. They were like, we
I didn't
got.
actually know that. That's cool.
Oh, really?
did not
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that.
I was. All right.
That's why-
I know
okay.
something you guys don't. So yeah, there is an Aquaman movie coming out.
Oh.
I literally saw a post yesterday that said like apparently some set shots and stuff have already been released.
Okay, cool.
Aquaman. We got like the promo photo, but all this is like the logo that he has.
Right,
And it just
yeah.
says like Aquaman underneath.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I'm so happy. Is Guillermo del Toro?
I don't know. I doubt it.
I do too. Just like, but like, think you could do like Lagoon
Zack Snyder,
Boy.
yeah.
Oh.
Lagoon Boy.
But it's kind of connected to both Spider-Man and the DC thing, and using Marvel as an example again because they're kind of the ones setting the standard.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Marvel kind of did is, especially for sort of their team ups and things and the world building, the scope kind of keeps getting bigger. You could argue that like Age of Ultron went back, but like if Ultron had won, it would have been a
I
big
see what you
thing. But
mean.
like
yeah.
the first thing, like they defend New York, right? That's like the strong point for the alien invasion. The second one, they like go to a foreign country and the whole thing is like lifted and like he's gonna take over the planet. And then like we're getting Infinity Gauntlet, which is like a galactic level, universe-ending event.
Yeah.
DC's first team up movie is like already like Darkseid. I think it's like his son or something.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're already dealing with like a galactic level event, and
But that's-
like I feel like that's what the Justice League
That's
does.
just Justice League.
But then again, I feel like if we'd had solo movies first,
Yeah.
because now we're gonna go back after we have a Justice League and like Black Manta's trying to take over Atlantis or whatever, and you're like, we stopped Darkseid. You know
But
what
you're
I mean?
also jumping from like we got Suicide Squad, and like we're jumping from Suicide Squad to this galactic level thing, and like there was no there's like no in
Yeah, there's
between
no
at all.
build-up.
There's
They-
no
build-up at
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just like, now we're here. We're
Yeah.
here and now we're here. And then with Venom, I think that if he was part of the MCU, you'd have to deal with that because the symbiote is from space. Maybe they do the ultimate route and it's like manufactured, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, I'm also concerned of like if they do go with this Spider-Man universe and they make the symbiotes more of a thing, because if they're popular, they're going to make Carnage. They're gonna do
Yeah.
whatever. They're gonna
Which
have
that I want.
That would be cool.
the thing is,
I want
if you did a
Carnage.
Spider-Man movie and you establish Venom, then you can make the Venom movie about him fighting Carnage after he's already fought Spider-Man. But like, are we gonna have a Venom who's already fought Spider-Man?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really. It's hard to comment without knowing like where they're gonna place this film in their universe.
Yeah.
Or like
I'm
what
just-
universe it's
Yeah,
gonna
or
be.
it even is.
Or like, yeah.
Like what's even happening?
Because if
Yeah.
it's Tom
What is-
Holland, it's fine.
Tom Holland and Tom Hardy.
Ooh, the Tom movies.
Ooh,
The
the
Clash
Toms.
of the Toms.
Clash
And I
of
think
the
that would
Toms.
also be really cool to see like a younger, less established actor like Tom Holland's take on like a brute like Tom Hardy. Brute in terms of the acting.
That's
it's
kind of
like-
what
I
we're
thought
getting in
his
Homecoming,
experience.
Yeah.
right? It's kind of what we're getting in Homecoming. Tom Holland's versus.
Don't tell me.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't even know
Oh yeah,
anything.
never mind. All right, then
Yeah.
I won't say anything.
All right.
It's
But-
You're ruining our podcast because I can't share this with the audience.
They know. They're
yeah,
geekier
that
than
you
actor
guys
and that
know.
actor, right?
You guys
Yeah,
know.
You
that
know
actor.
what's up.
in the link below.
How do you not know? How
Because
do you avoid that?
because I'm do this
Media blackout.
media
I
blackout.
was really good at that.
Because when I
You
see
are
it, I'll
pretty
know.
impressive at the media blackout.
It's pretty
I'm
impressive.
shocked.
I like being a part of the discussion and the speculation. Like I enjoy that.
Should you be allowed in this video?
That's true.
Yeah.
You can go.
You guys can talk. I'll be back.
So the villain.
So yeah, I just think there's a lot of weird things with that's up in the air, and I'm obviously excited because anything that's Spider-Man I get excited about.
Yeah.
What?
But I'm
What?
Hmm?
shut your dirty mouth.
Oh, you're not wearing a Spider-Man shirt today, wow.
I know it's weird, but I'm
There's only like. Well, count the Spider-Man's 1, 2.
Oh, it was like Wendy.
there's two up there,
There's two up there.
4.
It's like another one over there.
There's one over there.
Is there like a pop?
There's one
there's
up there.
like
There's
one.
five,
The little one. There's 5,
6.
6.
And we have spiders everywhere too.
And then we have
Anyways,
Venom. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of Spider-Mans
Anyways.
and spiders and Doc Ock. There's a Doc Ock. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But I'm just nervous because it's again. I like when DC said, "Oh, we're doing Batman vs Superman right now." I'm like, I feel like this could be better if it was later.
Yeah.
And I don't want to prejudge, but like DC has sort of shown us that if you rush, it doesn't pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just worried. You had a good thing going with Marvel.
Yeah.
Why ruin it? It's only gonna make both of you money.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
So that's disconcerting.
How do we feel about Tom Hardy?
I feel great about
I
Tom
feel
Hardy
like him.
I love Tom Hardy.
because I think Eddie Brock is a super duper interesting character.
Yeah.
And I think he has a lot of elements going on, and I think that if they write his relationship with the symbiote correctly,
Yeah.
it can be a very dramatic and compelling thing. Like, he can totally be a protagonist that you feel for and care for, and then also be an antagonist in somebody else's movie that you want to see get beat up.
Yeah.
Eddie Brock is that character, and I think Tom Hardy can be that actor.
Yeah.
He can play both sides
That's true.
because he's good and he's big, and we've seen him get into shape, and like
Oh yeah. Oh.
I want the
yeah.
Venom to be like a guy who's in shape and not just like I put the suit on and get big.
I never understood the casting of Eddie Brock in Spider-Man.
Yeah, I thought it was just a weird casting choice. Like, why cast Topher Grace? I guess he was just a shitter. Then they played him as a shitter.
I know.
But he has the potential to be
Edgelord Supreme.
very interesting, and I think
Yeah.
Tom Hardy can do that. And I really hope the suit is just like on his body, and he's not wearing like a muscle suit or like
Yeah.
CG or anything. I hope it's just him, fucking slick and oily.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Slick and oily.
Slick and oily.
Like
Slick and
slick,
oily. Like-
oily. You know what I always appreciated is like the symbiote that like flicks. It has like some tentacle-esque stuff.
Especially when he gets angry, it like kind of like flails. And
Yeah,
comes back
it
and-
like it's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And you feel that from the symbiote and
Yeah.
from the actor. I would
Yeah.
love that.
That's actually a fun thing. Because it is the symbiote kind of feeds off the chemicals and hormones of the person's emotion, right? Specifically like adrenaline and stuff like that. That's kind of the symbiote's whole thing. In the 90s when they were making the symbiotes like super extra edgy, I don't know if you guys know this, but they added this whole thing where they like eat brains. They like while they're bonded with somebody, they go and like eat people's brains, and that was like they like need those chemicals or whatever, which was weird because like they're symbiotes and the whole
They're
thing should be that
Symbiotic.
they survive by bonding with the host
Yeah.
organism, right? That's
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
If
Right. Together, both get better.
that's
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I'm nervous because they're making this movie. It's an R-rated movie.
Uh-oh.
Oh really?
Yes.
Oh.
Venom can totally be rated
didn't know
R.
that.
For a while,
That
he
was
was like Spider-Man cross Punisher. After he thought
Yeah.
Spider-Man was dead, he moved to San Francisco and acted as like they called it the Lethal Protector, and he was like a vigilante that killed people, and he was like Murder Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
So like if that's the angle they're going for it, cool.
Wow, that changes my perspective on what they're trying to do entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because you've got Deadpool and you got Logan, and like they've
Yeah.
opened that door to R-rated superhero films. I'm
Wow.
just nervous that
And
they're
they
just
made
gonna,
money.
Yeah, I'm just nervous they're gonna turn it into just like a monster flick.
Yeah, I think. Interesting. Okay.
But then Tom Hardy gives me hope that it won't be that.
Yeah, my thought entirely is kind of that because I feel like at the end a lot of people have been asking and wanting an R-rated Carnage film. And so
Yeah,
I think my thought
that
is
makes sense.
I think my thought is that it would be a really bad idea to have a PG or PG rated series and then have a R-rated Carnage film in it
Carnage?
because then you're cutting off a bunch of your fans, your younger fans. So I feel like if you're gonna make it rated R, make it all rated R. I don't know. Like that's kind of my thought.
I would assume because the thing is, Carnage.
Slippery like a snake when we were talking about R-rated Venom.
And Carnage not being the
Carnage.
protagonist for a film, because Carnage is irredeemable. He's a bad dude. He's bad news.
He's straight up a serial killer.
He's just straight up he killed his dad when he was 10. Like he's just a bad guy. So
some R-rated shit.
The way to have
Hashtag
Carnage in a movie though
bad.
is to make him the antagonist in a Venom movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? So I feel like that's what they would do. But I'm concerned that if we already are throwing Venom and Carnage into a movie before we like Spider-Man, it feels weird. Like because Carnage should come after Venom normally, and I feel like that's important to their story, not just because that's the way it was done.
Yeah.
Venom also feels like a more mature Spider-Man tale, though.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It feels like when Spider-Man, he's gone through his Rhino, he's gone through his Kingpin, and he's fought Shocker a bunch of times, and he's like, established himself as a crime fighter, and he himself has moved on to older pursuits. Him and Mary Jane are started a relationship. Then you have this thing of like,
yeah,
the symbiote, and he has to reject that part of his life. With going back to his roots of with great power comes great responsibility, and with like a responsibility to be in control and be understanding of what you're supposed to do. And then the Venom comes in, and then there's that whole thing where he's then battling against the person who just went through what he went through, and it's that kind of more like about withdrawal and giving that up. I think that's a more interesting tale if you give Spider-Man the time to mature as a character.
No, I agree.
Because then you see, as the audience, where he's come from and where he's going, and how he can empathize with someone like Venom and like Eddie Brock.
Yeah, and that just adds to that element of Eddie Brock actually being a sympathetic character who's just in a bad place.
Who gets like
the tortured soul.
Yeah, who gets sort of manipulated because of this other thing's pain, and because of his pain, and because they both work together, and that rage again comes through. It could be an R-rated film. It just, if you give it time, it'll also be an emotional film.
Yeah, like it can be R-rated. It just also needs room to breathe.
Yeah.
And I'm just, again, that DC comparison. It feels like, is it the right time to do that? Are we just kind of, because I feel like you can make a good Venom movie, but if you don't do that first, then you can't, and you've ruined that. Right? Like you can't make one like a Venom movie for the first time more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hoping they're kind of like doing it R-rated so they can build up to a Carnage film.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Because I think, if that's sort of how they do it, if they sort of make it like, we have the Spider-Man universe, and Venom is kind of like the R-rated pocket of that, and you don't really have to watch the Venom movies to know the other movies that's going on, but it exists in the same world, and you can go and see that.
Like the Logan of X-Men.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so you can just watch
Super into that.
Venom, and then have that series, and have him like fight Carnage and everything, and then if he ever shows up in Spider-Man, it's like at a different tone. Right? Like it's like Spider-Man's movies are PG or whatever. Venom shows up, and like we know, like if we've seen Venom, we know he's a killer. Yeah. But we don't have to see that. You don't have to always show him doing that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be graphic even if he does. Like
you could fade it. You could fade it to black.
Yeah, and people die in PG movies, right? Like he can still kill people. He's just not necessarily like ripping their like organs out or whatever they end up doing. But then when you have the Venom movie and the Venom series, you have that, and you have Carnage, and it's just bloody and like brutal and dark, and in this like seedy part of New York or San Francisco or wherever they set it.
Exactly, and that's the thing that's so lots of
takes
nudity.
his symbiote off.
Naked.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing is like
actually.
on being graphic without showing violence, having violence without showing. I think you can do that in almost any instance. Like they did it in Avatar, and if anybody hasn't seen season 3, like stop listening of Korra. I mean, but do you guys know what the scene I'm talking about?
Yes.
Vaguely.
It's the combustion bender.
It's not ringing a bell.
Did you watch season 3 with
I don't know.
the torture area? Do you mind if I tell you?
I don't care.
There's like it's one moment.
Yeah.
There's a combustion bender which like they use like a brain power to make things explode essentially, and it is channeled through this eye thing. Someone who's a metal bender throws this piece of metal over top of their face as they're using a combustion bending.
Oh.
And you cut away the moment that explosion happens, but you as an audience go, "Oh no!" I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah,
but
like,
no,
you know
what happened. You don't have to show it, and it's just like
I forgot about that.
I didn't. But that's a moment of when you go like, "Oh, this is like a dark thing that they didn't show children, but they can understand."
So like in a children's show.
A children's show, loosely.
Yeah. But yeah, like X-Men actually is a good example with like you were talking about Logan, because like Wolverine's been stabbing people since the beginning.
Yep.
But there's no blood and there's no evisceration, and he's not going for like the neck and the head and stuff, right? He's like stabbing them once in the chest and then moving on, and that just kind of keeps the action going. But then in Logan, like I don't want to like I'm not. It's not spoilers, but just like you should watch it. But it's not spoilers, but just like it's R-rated. So like when he stabs people, there's one.
I've seen like
in
all
the
the
first
trailers.
scene. Yeah, there's like he literally goes like up through the jaw. and like it's blood, and he's going for the brain, and it's like it's brutal.
I remember watching
brutal.
the like Red Band trailer, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of how you can do
Yeah.
Venom, right? Like Venom shows up in Spider-Man, and he's still clawing people and attacking them, but it's not visceral
Yeah.
in the same way.
Yeah, exactly. He just like instead you have that moment of he claws, grabs, throws a dude, and so like obviously the gore happens off screen.
Yeah, the guy's dead, but
The guy, we get that as an
R-rated
audience.
Venom could get gnarly.
But if that was R-rated, you
R-rated
would then
Venom.
show the claw going through. You'd show the symbiote like taking that body and then flinging it
Like,
away,
ripping skin
and then
off
like
and
you know what I mean?
guys, I'm just thinking about the horrible things you can do with webbing if you're R-rated.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You can choke someone with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like dangling them at awkward angles and like hanging them, and like
Just go like lit.
Yep.
you can do horrible things.
But like that's the
Venom's
avenue.
a bad man. Venom's a bad man.
Rope him up.
The old rope-a-dope.
Rope-a-dope. Speaking of Captain Cold, Injustice.
Justice.
But,
Yeah, we can talk about Injustice a little bit.
Yeah,
Well, it's like it came out this week. Last week.
almost a week.
Almost a week
Almost
ago.
a week.
It's been out for a week.
By the time people are watching this, it's been a week and a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we record on Mondays, publish on Wednesdays.
And it's really good.
Yeah, it's the thing that I'm really excited about it. Is well, for one, the story is good.
For a fighting game, which is always great.
Yeah, even like not like it's good. It's just good.
Yeah.
And then it's also you're like, oh my god, this is a fighting game. The story's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what I meant. It sounded like I meant for a fighting game, but I meant like in a fighting game. Like it's cool. Like it's a good story in a fighting game.
It's
Yeah.
a well-told story.
Yeah.
It's well told. It uses like all of its characters well at least once to like have a part in the story, which is really impressive and really cool.
Yeah.
It continues the first game story really well.
Yeah.
I'm sad in
Aw.
an objective sense about Superman just like kind of still being a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not because like I think that for the story it's perfect. Like you've built this universe, and I totally love that they were like we're gonna hold on to this, we're gonna keep this, and this is what this world is. But it's more for the fact that like I love playing as Superman. Like if we were just doing versus matches, and they've got all this really great dialogue and like discussions with like other characters, and I just hate that it's all just Dick Superman.
Yeah, just
Yeah, they definitely stuck with the characters that are involved in the story.
Yeah.
Because like in the first Injustice, we had slight spoiler, but like this story takes place almost entirely in the regime world.
Yeah.
As opposed to a combination of both like the neutral DC world and the regime world,
which would be what,
So-
Earth Prime.
It's just that
In their
yeah.
multiverse.
So like in the first game, we saw both Supermans. But in this game, we're only seeing the one, so I get why they did it. But yeah,
I totally
just,
get why they did
it.
it.
Sucks, like especially for you and me being huge like Superman fans and loving that Superman we know.
the
and
Boy
love,
Scout. Yeah.
the Boy Scout, and then like every time you play Superman any match, he's like, "I'm an asshole," and you're just like,
I'm gonna kill you.
"Yeah,
It's like,
This
oh.
world is mine.
we must kill all criminals," and you're like, no.
And
why?"
it sucks because that's like the thing where it's like, it's a fighting game, and
You need
you want that universe where everybody's fighting each other. So
Yeah.
like I get that if you're building a story in a fighting game, make it a world where there's conflict.
yeah.
So
the
then
more narrative reason to have people fight, the
yeah,
easier
and then
it
you
is.
can sort of lean on that narrative even in the matches because some of the dialogue is fun and it only
Yeah.
makes sense because of the universe they
Oh,
built and the
the
world they
dialogue
have,
is
and
so
it's
much
so
fun.
great.
I love their balance of like dialogue that some of them is like very serious and very like background oriented, and some of them are just like goofy and just dumb
Fun.
because like you would never think of seeing those two characters fight, but they have something to say to each other anyways.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, the amount of back and forth, especially because now it's like 3-part dialogue instead of 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before it was just each person said a line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one person response and response.
Yeah.
Like, it's
And there's an iteration where there's both. So like the amount of dialogue in this game is mind blowing.
Yeah.
Each character has at least 2 times where they talk, like, you know, where Swamp Thing says something and then Bane says something and then Swamp Thing responds.
Yeah.
But then there's also the Bane says something, Swamp Thing responds, and then Bane says the cliffhanger
Yeah.
one-liner, you know what I mean?
I think some of them also have alternatives to the same order.
and there's also alternatives, right?
I have a feeling there's some characters that don't really have any with each other.
Yeah.
But for the most part, like
Yeah.
it's more common to find iterations and new things where they're discussing things with each other, which is really cool.
but like Swamp Thing and Bane,
Yeah, like why is
Like,
that a thing?
yeah.
Sure.
Their line is so cool too.
Yeah, they talk about like your powers derive from the plants, and he goes, "I something to enhance mankind," and then I can't do his accent.
Or Bane says something like, why do you sorry for the banging, why do you not like, what is it? It's something about like not being natural, or like this is help, like why don't you like this serum, like it helps you, and then Swamp Thing is like, because it's unnatural. You're like, oh damn.
Yeah, he says something about you being unnatural too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's iterations where characters are fighting each other and have dialogue towards each other. Like Robin says to Robin, he's like, "I'm pretty sure I don't have a twin,"
yeah.
and he goes, "Are you sure?" And he goes, "I'm about to be," and it's like, "That's fun."
He
Yeah.
says I'll have to do
No,
a
he
blood
says, I have
test.
to do a-
There's,
blood test.
there's another one where he ends with, I'll take a blood sample,"
Yeah.
and it's like, "Oh, sick."
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and that's fun because they've also sort of established within like the fiction of the world, because the first game that there's a multiverse,
Yeah.
and they play with that not
Yeah.
only in the multiverse,
Like, yeah, there
mode,
is another Robin, maybe. I don't
but
know.
like there's this one popped over from somewhere, and like
Yeah.
that's just a thing, and then and it also almost kind of is a send up of comic books and multiverses and clones and stuff, and how common those things are,
Yeah.
and doppelgangers,
Yeah.
and they're just like, yeah, this doesn't make sense, but like it's comic books, and they sometimes don't make sense as much as we love them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's so cool.
I think by far the best one is Green Arrow and Black Canary.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like the
I love their
epitome of
lines.
like having fun with it.
Yeah.
And
lines.
I don't know if I want to necessarily spoil it. Like, just go and do a match and play as Green Arrow versus Black Canary, and you'll know what we're talking about.
They're
It's really
like
funny.
one of my favorite ones in the other game is like a lot of the clashes in the very first Injustice
Oh.
had a lot of that. So if you play Nightwing and Batman, Nightwing as Dick Grayson would be like, "You want to order a pizza?" and then Batman's like, "Focus, Dick." It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
it's
shit
their
like
training.
that. Like
Yeah.
they still like find reasons to make this game fun, and I love that like DC has a sense of humor, and I would love to like see that more in their films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like and
Yeah,
these
if-
these are outrageous characters that like shoot lightning and have laser eyes, and I don't know why you can't just make jokes.
But
with
it's
them.
I think that something that isn't Injustice does really well too is it does strike that darker tone as well.
Yes,
Like
Oh,
it's very
100%.
dark and heavy and dealing with some stuff,
yeah,
but
it's a
and
cool
it's like
morality.
it's a character drama.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a character drama. It's all about morality.
But simultaneously, they have those jokes and those lighthearted moments because
Yeah.
that's real. Like that's
Oh yeah, the amount of times where like people poke fun at like in like past cartoons and like other video games, people like poke fun at Bruce Wayne for being such a like brooding, like angsty dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What? It's fine." Like it's just like that the banter he has with other Justice League members. Like why aren't they doing that more in the movie series? It's
Yeah.
just weird.
It's funny because you talk about like movies and you're like, well, Marvel is like killing it and they're obviously just like winning,
Yeah.
in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like DC, man, on the video games,
They're fucking holy
Whole-
crap.
They're all-
Yeah.
like Injustice is the Batman vs Superman movie I wish I got.
Yeah, why?
That would be cool.
Because you set up a reason why Superman needs to fight Batman.
Because they're
well.
both established enough, and then you just like take those stakes to the next friggin' level.
Yeah. You know, and instead of like the whole Dark Knight Rises thing, which is
Yeah.
like, it's fun, and it's like, it's interesting. It's certainly like a nice parallel world.
Yeah.
I mean, Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, is that what I'm thinking of? What
That's
did I
what
say?
you're
Dark Knight
thinking of,
Rises?
Dark Knight Rises.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
Not,
Yes,
the,
so
not the Nolan film.
Yeah.
But the comic.
Burn. No, Dark Knight Returns. Just as like the graphic novel. Like,
Yeah.
it is. It's fun. It's like it's a reason where Batman fights Superman, but like
Yeah.
they don't really get into it until it's its own sequels.
Yeah, which is why I was saying later, there are some things about that I think are cool to take, like some setup scenarios, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because Injustice it's a battle of ideology,
Yeah.
right? And like,
And it's also a battle of redemption for a lot of characters.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing is they obviously the main focus is kind of the conflict between Batman and Superman, but they give everybody else a chance to like have their voice and their place within
Oh,
that
yeah.
greater conflict.
Yeah.
And like you see arcs, especially like with Green Arrow from the first game or Green Lantern, sorry, from the first game into the second game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He goes through a journey that's like satisfying to see.
Yeah.
I love seeing the build coming from what we saw in the first game. Like, this is a fighting game we're talking about.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're seeing
I can't
character
believe we're having
building
this conversation.
from the first game to the second game is like so cool, and the continuity is it's great.
And the thing is like this story continued on in comics, like the Injustice comics, have been going on since the release of the first game. I've heard.
Yeah.
And we have friends that are huge fans. I still have to pick them
I still
up
have to
and
read them.
watch
I actually, when I was at the store the other day, I tried to find some, but they didn't have like the first issues, so I couldn't.
They're probably
Or
selling.
you
They're probably
have
selling now because the new game's out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's lots of like cool lore within this own world, which is cool, and it's fun.
This is the thing for me that I think the video games are starting to get more and more like after we saw Arkham Asylum go to Arkham City, go to Arkham Knight, where it very much became its own universe, where Arkham Asylum was just kind of a generic Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And each game it became more and more unique.
Yeah.
Is that I've always preferred when they kind of do their own universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they just try to make it tied to whatever's going on in either the comics or the movies, right? Like if Injustice 1 had just been set in, say, the New 52, that would then be sort of invalidated because DC Rebirth just happened.
Yeah.
And then you've already like outdated yourself.
Yeah.
And you tried to be relevant and now you're not just because the comics are doing something else.
Yeah.
And I think that the movies have helped make
Nice. You clipped my mic totally.
Definitely. That's a definite mic clip.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. Just gonna have to edit that out too.
Timing.
Hi, we're GeekGarden. We're back again.
Again.
This has been entirely my fault. I don't know what the final edit's gonna look like, but
Yeah, Mr. Host.
any choppiness is totally on me.
So,
what were we talking about?
I don't even remember.
We're
Injustice.
talking about Injustice.
Injustice, yeah.
Man, I covered the last edit so well.
Yeah, we did.
We like Injustice.
It was
it's
good.
good.
It's a good
Go
game.
play
It's a good
it if you're at all interested in it. Go read about it if you're at all wanting to see that story. You don't.
I was talking about also just the way the universes, how they're starting to do like their own separate universe.
Yes, you
Their
were.
own
Oh,
thing.
right,
They're,
yeah.
Like, as opposed to like we're gonna set it very specifically in like the exact place that the comic books are in the month that the game released. They're kind of realizing that like games are a big thing on their own, and the source material shifts around so much, right? Like they actually it went in reverse. They spawned a new comic book line.
That's true.
Yeah, which was cool.
Because they made because the multiverse is already a thing. Like just make your own universe, take the baseline for the characters and tell the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
And then build it and they will come.
It's a sketchy thing to do it when you take another media platform and try to stay within canon. It's hard. It's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
The only example I can think of that does it and somehow gets away with it is Star Wars. Almost all their games, at least the games that are coming out and all their books, are in canon to the movies. But it's like...
But then, even
Like,
there, they had to hit the reset button because they had the
No,
expanded
that's
universe
true.
and they had to,
They did,
to
yes.
gut it and start again.
Yeah.
But that's also like a relatively like limited in scope.
But yeah, and the other thing I was going to say is that like an example is like with Marvel, how they obviously have like their movie MCU, but then they also have their TV show, like their Netflix stuff, and it is in the same universe, but they've even come out and said that like the people who are making the movies are not paying attention to the other stuff. So it's like
So they, as writers and as storytellers, are keeping it small though. They're not like trying to
exactly.
engage.
That's what I mean, right? Like
in
they are
that.
aware that there are like you have to limit yourself when it comes to trying to keep everything in
Right.
canon. So
Yeah.
video games, like just adding another layer that like the big guys aren't paying attention to, but you're trying to get like it's just messy. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, I will just say that apparently Kevin Feige has recently said that it's more possible now that we will see some kind of crossover between the movies and the TV shows.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Which
That's
is
cool.
cool. Like they're not
Shocking.
paying attention in terms of like, oh, we can't do this like Marvel movie because like in episode 7 of Daredevil season 3 like this, right? Like they're not doing that.
Yeah.
But
They might have
apparently
a
there's now a possibility that like we might see something.
I feel like it's more like the writers of the shows have been like do plots that don't really affect the MCU, like don't get involved, and then I feel like the directors and writers of the MCU movies are like, don't worry about the TV shows, like just keep doing your thing.
Yeah.
And like
And it'll all work
whoever the
out.
big guns are who are making all the big decisions, we're like maybe we'll
Like-
cross them over at some point, maybe we won't.
Yeah.
We'll
For
make
now-
that decision later, but
exactly.
don't get them involved.
I'm sure they have to like say, hey, these are the characters we want to use in our scripts.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah, there's an approval process.
I'm sure before
So
they
that-
can write someone in.
But yeah, all I was trying to say is that it's a complicated process, and that companies who try to make games or comics that also fit in with, or games that try to fit in with one of the other universes, comics or movies, it's
Yeah.
It's tough. It's hard. It's messy. It's
It also feels a little gimmicky to me usually.
that too.
When it's like a movie game, a movie tie-in game, and it's like it
Yeah.
follows the plot of the movie, and then also
it's
has
just
this
like-
other stuff. I'm like,
And there's
Remember during like the PS2 like Xbox era when we used to get a lot of movie games,
Yeah,
and it would
so
always
do.
be like a really awkward, poorly done adaptation of the movie plus like an extra either prologue or like epilogue. Like it was so.
Or just like more story kind of in the middle, like the Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 1 ones, where they're just
Yeah.
like the beginning and end is basically the movie, but then like in the middle they've thrown in extra villains and like all these side plots,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, I guess,
Yeah.
sure.
yeah, it's.
They were young. They were figuring it out. It's fine.
It was all
They
new.
were young.
Yeah, that is true though.
It was a young and bright time. But that's actually a good point. Is like we've seen the sort of the death of the movie tie-in.
Yeah, which thank God.
Because now, games have gotten more expensive and bigger to produce anyway, so they can't keep
They
on
can't-
the same kind of schedule.
Yeah, that's
No.
good.
But also, just now they're like, oh, the games can be their own franchise. Something
Yeah.
like Arkham proved, like, oh, you do an Arkham, like Arkham Asylum is just like a love letter to Batman.
Yeah,
Right? Like it's just a generic like the animated series plus the comics are just great, and we just want to celebrate everything Batman. And then
Right.
they've told a story now, and they have a sequel on that, and it gets a little more iterative, and we're introducing characters in new ways now.
yeah,
And then you get Arkham Knight, and it's a whole new thing. And it was super popular and super successful.
Yeah, and it felt more like the MCU movies do now, where it's like its own thing, but they obviously make references and stuff to the source material, and it's just it's
Yeah,
it's
like
good.
a lot of the
It's tasty.
Batman stories have happened, and if in the game you're like, when did this happen? They go out of their way to talk about it. They're like, hey, look, you can read
Or
this little
hint at it,
dossier,
yeah.
and it's like this is kind of the history of these characters already have.
Yeah.
So
Because every character, especially one as big as Batman, has like some things that have happened in their history
Yeah.
that have kind of almost been continuous in almost every version of Batman, no matter
Yeah.
what New 52, Rebirth,
Bane,
whatever. Right?
Bane
Like
is
things-
broken, Batman's back,
Jason
and
Todd
Yeah,
has
they
died.
become-
Jason
Like,
Todd has
I'm
died.
gonna do a video. I'm gonna do a Here's the Thing talking about that concept.
Yeah.
Of sort of like legacies of characters that become a part of their mythos.
Yeah,
yeah.
But that's
Which is very cool.
one of the things is like like the Nightfall.
But yeah, Batman
Nightfall.
did such a good. The Arkham series did such a good job of just like those things still
Honoring.
exist, but it's like
Yeah.
it's their own world.
it's great. Yeah, I know, I love it.
And Injustice is just another example
And yeah,
of
it's,
that.
With an even larger cast of like protagonists.
Yeah, and they're all you look at them and you're like, okay, that's that character, and like they've taken them. The best way to do that too, I just want to briefly say this. The best way to do that is don't just be like, oh, this is just like the universe where Superman's evil. Like this Superman clearly started out like most Supermen, and then he gets you create that plot, that conflict. You
Such
create the
a
scenario where you
script.
go like, yeah, I could see that. Like it's just as believable that would happen and Superman would have the restraint, but you can also totally believe that Joker would do that to him. And he would become this Superman.
I also love like again, I don't want to get super into it, but I also just love how like the event that happens in order to create this world is very like it feels like the world is a thing because like they're Batman villains with Superman and like it's
really cool.
Yeah.
It's gonna change the shape of the world so it involves everybody.
Yeah.
In that
Yeah.
sense.
oh, it's good.
Very good.
Yeah, no, it's fucking so good.
I honestly could talk about Injustice for hours.
We don't even play fighting games. Like we might pick up Mortal Kombat every once
We
in a while,
play
but like
Smash.
But yeah, but it's kind
But
of
that's like its own
It's
thing.
living
Like,
off in
yeah,
its
it's
own
its
little
own
place.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but it is still a fighting game.
yeah,
It
but I
is.
mean in the classic like
In the classic
like,
grid style
Street Fighter,
fighting
Mortal
game,
Kombat,
Yeah.
even Soul Calibur maybe, and like those games, Marvel vs. Capcom, like we don't really play those games.
well, there's not a lot that are to the kind of comic interest.
That's what I mean. Where it might be a little biased because it's entirely a comic book fighting
cast.
game, but
Yeah.
but still, like we have a lot of fun with it, and go pick it up, go play it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Could do it.
I'm like I
We
would.
weren't paid for this.
No, we weren't paid. I wish we were.
I wish we were paid.
Corporate shill.
If you pay me, I'll be any kind of corporate shill you want.
That's true.
I think we're gonna wrap it up there though.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if any of you guys wanted to have a final word on anything we've discussed today. Just a last little button on any topic, if it's about Venom or Injustice or the MCU or Spider-Man. If there's any last little burning thought.
Wanna go first?
The only thing on my mind right now, because Brandon mentioned tie-in movie games, is Star Wars 1313.
Oh,
I literally watched a trailer for that game. I don't know why. Like, this game has been dead and gone for so long,
Yeah,
and I've been
wow.
thinking about it for 20 minutes now. and I'm really upset.
Did you
and
get that off your chest now?
No,
Okay.
I'm still really mad.
Sean, we're trying to end the video.
Sorry.
Introducing new topics.
We'll
introducing
talk
new
about
topics.
this another time. Dead games that
We
have
will
gone.
do that.
We'll compost bin that.
I was just gonna say, Justice is great. Go play it. I am nervous about Sony doing their own Spider-Man thing. I'll just leave it at that. I don't really know. I can't really say much until we know like where they're placing these films in the universe of whatever. So
Yeah, that's fair.
Jack, you have anything to say?
I'm just gonna say I really hope Tom Hardy does a good job. Well, I'm sure you'll do a good job
Oh.
playing as Venom, but like I just really hope that the whole everything else is fine.
Like sort of the universe around him
Yeah.
is good, so we don't get like a poor Ben Affleck situation where he's like a great
Yeah.
Batman and you're kind of like
Exactly.
Oh.
Like he plays it so
Such a
well, and it's just
travesty.
everything else is just so bad.
a tragedy.
Such a
It's a travesty and a tragedy
Yeah.
all rolled into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I as well as just saying that Injustice does a great job of pretty much everything it wants to do.
Yeah.
I am cautiously optimistic about Venom. I think attaching somebody like Tom Hardy is a great boon. Like he's
It's a good
got
start.
he's got leading man
Yeah.
chops. He's led big like reboots of franchises with Mad Max. He's led
Yeah.
just big franchises. He's been in the comic book space as Bane,
Yeah.
who I actually kind of think of as very much a Batman equivalent to Venom in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So
Because of the drug he uses, or
no, I mean the drug's called Venom, which is hilarious. But no, just the way that he's like, he's a bit more of like an out and out villain, but he's very much sort of like an anti version of his hero and can match him physically as well as mentally and like that
Yeah.
whole
And
kind
it
of
takes place as like a very specific part in their mythos and
Yeah.
their background as
Mhm.
characters.
yeah, and like and
And,
kind
like,
of does a good
and-
job of breaking them
and tests them.
mentally in a
Yeah.
sense and like yeah. So I
They're
just
good foil.
they're good foils. They're not Green Goblin Joker in like the ideological sense, but
Yeah.
they're still really good foils.
They're good foils
They're
in the
heroes.
fact that they're both like, let's say, if you want to break it down into like the Bedlam axis, it's like good versus evil in the kind of like the Joker and Batman where it's lawful and chaos.
Yeah.
Like Bane and Batman are both a lawful sort of
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, so it's like
And
it's
I-
a different kind of foil.
And I think it's the same with kind of Venom as well.
Yeah,
as
because
far
he's
as
the
Superman.
anti-hero, right? He's
Yeah.
in like a different playing space.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
He's a lawful sort of dude, but
I'm excited about that, and we will talk more about any news that we hear about Venom or anything. We'll obviously talk more about Injustice as we get more DLC characters and have a discussion about that. Any thoughts that you guys have? Please let us know if like Venom's your favorite character, or you think Tom Hardy can or can't be a good Venom, or anything you're nervous about. Let us know in the comments below. We'll get back to you guys. Again, Kelly, Sean, Brandon, Jack. We're at GeekGarden. This was Stay Indoors. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check us out on Patreon. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the social My Facebook Insta pages.
all the links are
I
gonna be down
haven't, I
below.
haven't made the MySpace yet. Damn it.
Oh,
You're
Brandon,
fuck.
that was one job.
Jesus,
One
Brandon.
job.
thanks again, guys. GeekGarden signing off.
Bye.
One job.
I like the green thumbs thing. We
What
should
the
do
hell?
that.
Yeah. Thanks, Green Thumbs. Shut the fuck up. I like the Green Thumbs thing. The thing I said sarcastically last time.
It's good. I really like it.